activated. Your weekly football fix kicks off now.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok.
LFC Total Red Football Podcast with myself, Kings. Joining me tonight, we've got Kev, Tom and Neil. And we're going to be talking about the 1-0 win against Real Madrid. Mac Allister's goal, obviously, and obviously their goalkeeper with his fantastic saves, and Conor Bradley. Also, we're going to talk about the 3-0 defeat at Man City. Poor game for the Reds. Deserved defeat, really. But within that chat, we will talk about the VAR decisions and is it worth contacting the PGMOL for an apology? What good would it actually do? But first off, let's check in, make sure everyone's all right. Kev, how are you?
All good, mate. All good. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Enjoying the international breaks more than I've ever done, to be fair, this season.
Very good, yes. Neil, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. You mentioned the Real Madrid game. It seems a long time ago. After Sunday.
It does.
So yeah, but we'll get into it, I'm sure.
Well, to be honest, yes, we'll start there with Real Madrid because, yes, I know it was last week, but I just want to at least mention it since we've been on our last. A 1-0 win, but quite easily, Kev, could have been more than that. You know, Courtois in goal really at his best, wasn't he? You know, and it's like, so a 1-0 win for the Reds doesn't actually do them the justice of the game because they were really, really good, weren't they, Liverpool?
Yeah, on the front foot, compact, going forward was very well, controlled the counter-attacks very well by not allowing too many forward, which didn't fall into Real Madrid's hands in the way that they wanted to counter-attack. Played very well. Conor Bradley had a great game against Vinicius Jr, Mbappe at times. Courtois was just like watching in 2018, frustratingly very good. And kept them in it. Could have been a lot more. We got our goal, and we were playing everything through Wirtz being part of it. Takite looked as though he actually wanted to play. Kanate played well because he was doing his interview for Real Madrid, because he thinks he's a Real Madrid player. And Conor Bradley showed Trent again how to play right back. So all in all, it was a great game, and Trent got what he deserved, which was rightly so, regardless of what people think or say. And it was a good win.
Tom, how do you follow that? He's covered most things in one go, really. But you know, what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I echo his thoughts, to be fair. I think it was just Liverpool on a European night at its best. The ground was horrible in a good way. That's what we've kind of prided ourselves on a big European night. Always the better team, even though they had the chances. I always felt like there was never really any doubt we were winning that game. I thought we were comfortably superior to them. I think 1-11 we were very good performances. I don't think anyone had a bad game. So yeah, as I said, atmosphere was brilliant. The team played with intensity. They played with quality. They played with speed, which, as I said, you know, that's what we pride ourselves on home games, especially European nights. You know, that intensity, the crowd, we play on that. I think the players fed off that. Obviously, the whole Trent thing probably helped us in a way to kind of get that, 1% a bit more fired up as well if we needed it. So yeah, all in all, great night, and I think we all thought that was, the springboard to, improvement, but wasn't to be, was it?
Neil, before I even say anything, right, I don't know if it's me with slight OCD or I'm just looking at it the wrong angle, but is that picture crooked behind you? Because it just doesn't look right.
It might be slightly. I'll get the rule out for you afterwards.
Fair enough. We'll go to VAR decision on that one.
I'll have a word with the missus because that's her department. So I'll mention the aesthetics haven't been quite right for this stream.
I just wasn't sure if it was the camera angle or not. And I'm just like, no, it's not quite right, is it?
I am sat at an angle, so you'd have a nightmare. I've got a whole load of Liverpool pictures on this wall, and some of them are wonky. So you've got the lesser of the two evils.
What was your thoughts on the Man City game? Sorry, not the Man City game, the Real Madrid game. Losing train of thought now.
I think Kev used the words front foot and Tom used the word speed and intensity. And I think that was that really described the performance. I thought we bullied them. And I think we saw some progression from the Aston Villa game because we were much, much better against Villa, but we weren't perfect. But that was by far our best sustained 90-minute performance across the season. And I think, we saw Florian Wirtz probably have his best game, most influential game for the club, playing for the left. I think had Ekitike had been on his game, he might have even put him in a couple of times. So I felt that we came out the game with massive positives. And it looked like, as we said, that we were on the right track. But those words, speed, intensity, front foot, were kind of the key behind it. And, you started to think that the fiasco against Crystal Palace, where we put out pretty much a scratch team, the gamble had kind of paid off because we'd beaten Aston Villa. We'd beaten Real Madrid, which puts us in a really strong position in the Champions League group. So it was a really enjoyable game, and it just shows that when we're on it, particularly at home in the Champions League, we're going to be a real force to deal with.
Now, as I said at the top of the show, we don't, obviously we're not going to dwell on it too much because we've got another game to talk about. So I'll break down parts of the game for each of you individually. Kev, for you, I want to talk about the fact, Real Madrid have some fantastic superstar players. And yet, Bradley, for one, kept Vinicius Jr. quiet. Mbappe didn't really do that well. There was a few chances within the game that they could have done something. But overall, Liverpool kept these so-called star players, quite quiet, didn't they?
Yeah, as I alluded to, we didn't push too far ahead like schoolboys like we have done in the past. We had a defensive mindset as well within that. So if they did counter press, we had players attack, which defused their counter attacking to some extent. And when you do that against Madrid, they find it struggling. I heard Guillaume Balaguer say that I hope Liverpool score early because this team can deal with anything. The problem you've got is that the have players playing who I thought Camavinga was their best player, by the way. I thought he had a really good game. Valverde as well, I thought was good, but the playing Valverde out of position. There was a few elements of the game that could have been a lot better, and if it wasn't for the goalkeeper, that would have been a very devastating defeat for them. The fact that we were able to nullify them the way we did, I think helps. I think Thomas alluded to the energy within the ground felt more like a Liverpool atmosphere, and we haven't really seen that. Even against United, it was very, very flat, and I felt as though we were an electric car that needed to be plugged in to be charged up because there was nothing. It was the worst atmosphere I've had at a Man United game. So we go into this game and it's totally different. But again, we've nullified their best assets to a very good degree. It's just a shame that we get the mirror opposite of that in the City game. But that's what it came down to. We were actually defensively mindset. We knew what was on, and I think also what has helped us, because the majority of our defeats have been away, is that it was a home game as well, under the lights, and we always turn up.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on YouTube.
Tom, I'm going to ask you about, firstly, Courtois in goal, and obviously Mac Allister's bullet header. their goalie played out of his skin, and he showed why he is a top goalie. You know, he really kept them in the game for long periods. And then, obviously, talk us through that goal as well.
Yeah, pain in the arse, isn't he? But he's a top goalie. Undoubtedly top 2 in the world, and he's been doing it for so many years now. He's just a man mounted in goal, isn't he? And it's just hard to get past him, like I said, because he is so big. And his reach, his stature, his shot stopping in general. Obviously, we've also got PTSD from Paris, and when he starts pulling them off again, you're just thinking, here we go again. But thankfully, the smallest player on the pitch.
I was just going to say, were you surprised it was the smallest player on the pitch? You actually scored the winning goal with a header. Yeah,
thankfully the smallest player on the pitch gets his head on one, and
that makes straight at him as well.
It was, to be fair, yeah. But it was obviously quite close, and a lot of power behind it as well, to be fair to him. So, that was a decisive moment, and like I said, we definitely deserved the win. If not for Courtois, as we alluded to, it could have been 4 or 5. They did have the chances as well, but I always felt like we had the control of that game. I think if they scored, would have backed us to go up the other end and score. It felt like one of those games where we kind of just had them at arm's length in a way. Despite the masterclass again from Courtois, I'll be glad to see the back of him once he goes. As I said, brilliant performance and thoroughly deserved win.
Yeah. Neil, I'm going to ask you about Conor Bradley. Played very well. He was my man of the match. I don't know. Did they give out the man of the match? I don't recall who got it, actually.
Mac Allister, I think, got the official one.
Right, okay. I'd give it to Bradley, just the way he performed as the right back. Obviously, with our former right back sitting in the stands watching him, the crowd were backing him and everything, but he did play really well. What was your thoughts on his performance and the reception that Trent got when he come on?
So, in terms of Conor Bradley, I thought he was outstanding, and again rose to the occasion as he did last year when I think Mbappe was playing from the left last season. This year it was Vinny Jr. And he didn't cause a problem, did he? Bradley seemed to have his number very early on. He was tenacious in the tackle, bright going forward, and it was encouraging because our fullback positions have been a problem this season, and he showed he can get to a level that we need him to be at going forward, and reiterated the point that he can do it, because I would say up until now this season, up until that game, there'd been some question marks over him. So I thought he was outstanding, and I thought it was very promising. In terms of Trent, I think I said last week, he's an opposition player, and he deserved the reception that he got. So I have no issues with it. We needed Anfield to be at its vociferous best, and I think it was. He probably got the worst of it, understandably. As I said last week, I didn't agree with it during the Arsenal game when we were 2-0 up and coasting. I think it disrupted our team when he was a Liverpool player, but he isn't anymore. And fair play, the crowd got on his back. He didn't do anything. It overhit a cross.
So a wayward pass, I think that was it.
Yeah. So, positive from Bradley's perspective, and good to see Trent not have an impact. And I think it's so far. I know a lot. We can debate whether our transfers have worked out. So far, it's not been a good move for him, has it? Because they're playing a central midfielder at right back instead of him. Yes, he's been out injured, but I don't think it bodes particularly well for him.
So we were all quite happy. After Villa, we got kind of the boost of a win finally. And then we're going to that game a bit apprehensive, and we come out of it. Should have been a lot more, like Tom said, the goalie was outstanding, but getting the win in that one, so we're right. Okay. We kind of, I don't know, the good feeling was right back up here, knowing that we're going into the Man City game. So obviously we'll move on and talk about that. But Yeah, a bit misguided, maybe that euphoria, I think, wasn't it? I'll come to you first, Tom. Didn't really live up to the hype, maybe, of a standard, maybe City Liverpool game, did it? Liverpool just weren't on it.
No, I think from the first minute they were just a better side. I don't think we ever got anything kind of going, did we? It's like I said, from the off. It was just kind of back to the wall, really. Just strange to come off the back of that Madrid game playing how we did, and then go back to our old selves in a way this season. Was some shocking officiating, as we know. If that goal goes in 1-1, then it could be a completely different game. But I think if you argue about 3-0, I don't think you can really. I think 3-0 was a fair reflection of how the game panned out. So even though we can be frustrated about VAR, like we always are, we always seem to be. I'm not as much as normal because, as I said, I think 3-0 was a fair reflection. I think they were much the better team, played with much more intensity. They played much better football. Kind of how we just described us against Madrid. It was just the opposite way around. I think we got, but the most surprising thing for me is I think we got bullied. I think when you look at the lineups, especially at the midfield, we had Gravenberg, Szoboszlai, quite big lads. Mac Allister, who can, he can put a foot in.
Yeah.
And you got like, Foden, Cherky, Bernardo, these kind of players. You think we can really, win that battle in there. We got the physicality, the physical presence to really dominate them in that area. And it went the other way. As I said, they bullied us. I'll give him his flowers on Tuesday. He was outstanding. Arguably, our best player, maybe Bradley, but arguably Vert as well. But Sunday, he gets bullied. There's no other way to say it. He looked like a little boy out there, to be honest. And it was disappointing to say because we did, see such a promising performance on Tuesday from him, and to see him kind of play like that again was disappointing. As I said, he did get bullied, but it wasn't just him; it was the whole team. They lack fight, I think, for me, and I think that's the most worrying part, of our game this season. It's not the results, it's not even the performances. In a way, it's like I think we just lack a bit of heart, a bit of will to win, a bit of I don't know what the word is, just a bit of grit, a bit of fight, really. We just, especially away from home, I just think we get bullied. We don't look like we want to win these second balls. We don't look like we want to win these duels, which is a big concern, to be honest. When we do have big lads in there who can roll the sleeves up and give people a fight, but we just didn't look like we wanted to do that, unfortunately. As I said, I think we got bullied. We got dominated from a technical point of view and a physical point of view, which, especially the latter, we really shouldn't be doing against Man City. So, big cause for concern, that one, to be honest with you.
You're listening to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast.
Kev, so after the first 5-10 minutes, do you get that sinking feeling, or are you thinking, do you know what, we'll be all right, it'll kind of pick up? But it never quite really got started, did it, for Liverpool?
No, and I don't think City allowed us to. I think what they done well was they actually suffocated us in midfield. The lines between our defence, midfield, and our attackers are too wide in between those, especially between midfield and our attack. Ezequiel gets a shoulder off Diaz, goes down, looks at the weather, gets up and thinks, I'm not on it today, I don't want any of this. And he was by far probably the first time I've seen Ezequiel not have an impact as what he has done, which was worrying. What I loved about City is that they allowed us to have the ball, and there only one individual to have that ball, and that was Kanate. And that was a fantastic move by Guardiola, because we were expecting the same kind of intensity that we see, full flowing, full intent. There was none of that. It was basically, right, we're playing technical plays because we know you're going to lose this ball, or at some point he's not going to be able to play that ball. We went gambling. Gravenberch had many a time where he could have slipped Ezequiel through, Verts through, or anyone else, and he refuses to and plays it back to Kanate. Now, we have this issue with our midfield at the moment, which is doing my head in, is the fact that we're not willing to take that risky chance because of what happened in the past and what has happened this season. And you see it time and time again. What I liked about Wirtz was, although he was getting isolated at times, especially in the second half, when you have the problem of him getting the ball and he's got 3 Man City players around him, not one Liverpool player near him. And the problem is that lad, forever what everyone says this season, he still showed the endeavour and still showed up and still wanted that ball being played to him. And he was running across from right wing to left wing, and he was going in between. Now, people may not like what he's doing at the minute, and I get that, but the problem you've got is that we're not utilised. It falls down to a fundamental problem we've got, which is we use the same formation in every game and expect us to win. And it's not going to work. We have to find a way of playing our strongest 11. I don't think he knows his strongest 11. I certainly can't think of our strongest 11 at the minute that I go, that's it. Because it's a formation problem as well. And we need to utilise these players in the strength. I think what the issue you've got as well is if we only got Etakite and didn't get Isak, I think we don't have this kind of issue. The problem you've got is we're trying to fit Wirtz, Isak and Etakite into a formation that allows us to be more offensive and also defensively minded. What we've also seen, what I saw in the game, is you've got players playing out of position for the first goal. Van Dijk, stay on the left-hand side. There's no need for you to come inside and swap with Robbo, which is what he does, which infuriated me while I was standing there. And I'm shouting, why are you doing that? Stop the cross. And what happens? The cross comes in. And all Haaland has to do is jump. There's the first goal. Definite penalty for me. It's down to opinion. If people think it's not a penalty, I agree with you. From where I was, I thought it was a penalty straight away. You then get us counter pressing, and we're pressing with one or two individuals. We're not pressing as a team, and that's the difference that you're seeing away from home. We are lackluster, and we're playing the ball around as though we're 3-4-0 up at times, and it's frustrating to watch. And the problem you've got is that our front three are trying to play and trying to run into channels, and not one single individual is willing to make that chance or take that opportunity to do it. We'll play the safe pass all the time, and that's what's happened. And then we get the negativeness of it, and then we get deflated because of what happens, and then we get the sucker punch. I'll be honest, that game could have been 4 or 5-0, and it would have been a fair result and a fair outcome, because it was similar to what we saw at Palace. It's similar to what I've saw away from home this season, and it's an issue that has to be changed. We need a big fundamental change, and it's a formation change, and it's got to be to the strength of the team that utilises every individual in their actual relative place. Szoboszlai is probably our best player, our energy. And we've got to build a team around him and look at where the positives are. Look at what's been doing well, how we've done well, such as on against Madrid. That sees when you bring in the players like a Wirtz, a Salah, especially in the Villa game, what happens to this front line and what happens to our opportunities. So we need a formation that allows us to do that. But I'll be honest, and Tom alluded to it, there's a lot of players. It's not just Wirtz that everyone's going at hammering in on at the minute, which some of it may be right, some of it I don't agree with. But we have a lot of players who are playing less than what they were last season. Gravenberch being one, Van Dijk being another, Robertson again. You've got Bradley in fit and start against Stock, who looked all right, but again was tentative. We have lost. We were too lopsided. And that showed in the third goal. We all go to the left-hand side as though, that's where the danger is. But it wasn't. The danger was on the right. One straight pass, 3 passes, and they score. And there's the third goal, sucker punch. We've got a goalkeeper that, let's be honest, is good. But let's put it this way, there's many goals that he's let in that Alisson that we look at and go, Alisson would have done better. And that's a problem going forward, because when he does actually leave Alisson, the drop to Marmashvili is huge. Whether that's a 1v1, shot taken, or anything else, that's a big worry. You've also got to worry on the left-hand side. You've got Virgil and Kanate, who are playing Donkey Kong between the pair of them, because one's trying to cover left-back as well as doing his own job, and the other one thinks he's playing for Real Madrid in certain games that he wants to turn up for, and a lot of the time, he ends up playing like Dejan Liam Lovren. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. And then you've got a midfield three, apart from Szoboszlai, who are actually not playing on to any level that they should be, and that's a fundamental issue that we've got. And we need to. We struggle away from home, regardless of who we play away from home. We struggle unless they're coming at us like Frankfurt did, naively, and we're not going to get that. And the more we go on, the good thing for Liverpool is in the Champions League is that we've played the hardest teams. So in theory, all we've got to do is win our home games and we're through. So he's got a bit of leeway there. He has to change it. I would be, if I was him, bring Heitinger back and get rid of Van Bronckhorst, because Van Bronckhorst has done nothing, whether that's with our left back or right back, or with his tactical, because his tactical now compared to Heitinger from last season is the stratospheres between them. So I would be looking at doing that. He has to do something, and it has to be drastic. No, it doesn't have to be as drastic as that, but we need something. We need to find something that helps this team, because at the minute we're not seeing it, and it's getting frustrating. And the more it adds to the pressure. It's mad to think that we're in November and we're already looking at a transition season.
Yeah.
When we've spent money, and we haven't spent money on crap, by the way. We've spent money on elite players, quality players, which will eventually show. But for formation reasons and tactical reasons, it's not shown.
Neil, Kev just said that the fans are looking at it, and there's managers looking at it all in the same. Like, if we had said this was last season and it was transitional, we'd have all been like, well, that's fair enough. We've got a new manager in. But of course, it's the second season, spent all this money, and you're almost wondering how it can end up like this. Both them sides over the last, 6, 7, 8 years have been at the top of the league, one or the other. And it's like both are now chasing Arsenal as the yearly pace setters, and they came into this game, both of them with a thing of like, we've got to kind of gain some points on them. But City dominated Liverpool completely, didn't they?
They did, and I felt we went into the game tactically very tentative. We spoke about the intensity of Real Madrid and being on the front foot. Didn't see any of that. Now, whether part of that is down to the fact that there was some legginess after the midweek game, I don't think anyone beforehand was disappointed when he named an unchanged lineup. I think everybody probably would have wanted that. In hindsight, whether it was the right thing to do, because there were scenarios where, if you look at the first two goals, where I know Van Dijk and Robertson switched over, I still think Robertson could have got out to press the ball and stop the cross. And then on the second goal, we've sat in so deep I think it was from a corner it came from, and the guy's running into 10, 15 yards of space, and someone should be out there pressing him, trying to block that shot. So I suspect there was some legginess in it, but I felt tactically we were kind of caught in no man's land where we weren't really doing anything. And I feel we've got the quality, and we proved it against Real Madrid. We can go out, press the opposition, and go for it. And I saw nothing of that on Sunday, of what I'd seen on Tuesday, and it was very, very disappointing. And I do agree with Kev about the lack of adventure with our passing. Mac Allister coming in against Villa and Real Madrid, you saw more forward passes through the midfield, but again, that was completely absent on Sunday. So things need to change. When the crowd, when we're at Anfield under the lights, everyone's up for it. When you're away from home and you're up against it a little bit, it seems that maybe not everybody is. So that is the time where you need to either look at the formation, as Kev says, or you look at the personnel. And sometimes you're better off going with a player that's going to give you a 7 out of 10 performance week in, week out, rather than someone that's going to give you a 9 out of 10 one week and a 4 out of 10 the next week. So maybe even looking at the character of the players that you need to use away from home, because it really was an unacceptable performance. And as I say, legginess might have come into a little bit. I don't blame him for that, because we would have all done the same thing. But tactically, I just felt that we were just caught in no man's land. And as soon as you go 2 goals down just before half time, it's a long way back into the game. Although we did improve, but they set off a bit, didn't they, second half? So, yeah, really.
Oh, we seem to have lost Neil there. So.
Yeah, am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really disappointing. I would just like.
No, he's gone. Oh, he's back now.
Yeah, really disappointing. I'd just like to
he's back.
do things with much more of a plan and purpose away from home, because it's not been good enough. And you got to think, we had 15 points after 5 games. We've now got 18 points after 11. That is shocking.
Yeah,
and it's unacceptable. So something has to change. Whether it's personnel or whether it's our tactical setup, because that's not acceptable. And they're talking about Marco Silva today. He's lost 5 out. I listened to it, 5 out of 6 games, and he's being touted for the sack. And it's like, well, we've actually lost 5 out of 6 games, and I'm not suggesting that we should sack him at all, because I think there's a lot of credit in the bank. We don't operate like that, but it's a very, very bad run of form.
Yeah, it is.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
Kev's already alluded to his thoughts maybe on the penalty decision. We'll come to him in a little bit about that. So I'm going to start with you first, Tom. We're going to talk about VAR during the game. Now, I'm going to specify, that I don't think necessarily that decision, or with the goal especially, would have had an overall impact on the game. I still think City would have won. I'm not sitting here sour grapes, saying it because of this we didn't win anything. City were the far better side. I'm going to give them the credit they deserve. But in the game, there was a couple of VAR decisions. The first one we'll talk about is the penalty. What was your thoughts on it?
Never a penalty for me. I think, it's a contact sport. He's running the pace, fair enough, and there's the tiniest touch. But as I said, it's a contact sport. It doesn't a bit of contact or a touch doesn't mean it's automatically a foul. And yeah, that's for me why it's not a penalty. For me, it's got to be enough to really put him off balance and really put him to the ground. And I don't think it has it. I think it's the slightest of touches. As I said, because he's running the pace, he's kind of used that to his advantage and thrown himself over. Yeah, for me, never ever a penalty. It's minimal. You have to really look at it closely to actually see any contact at all. I think if you really look at it, there's maybe the slightest touch with his knee onto his leg. So yeah, as I said, it's a contact sport. A bit of contact doesn't mean it's a foul. So yeah, for me, not a penalty in a million years.
Now, from my point of view, I was obviously watching the game, and he had his foot out as he went to make the tackle or try and make the save, and then twisted his leg back in. So it was his knee that obviously caused the issue. So I'm thinking, I thought he was in a pretty natural position, to be honest. And you would expect, and I expected at Liverpool and any other team, you would expect the striker to dangle their foot there and leave it there. And that's exactly what he did. And finally got the decision. I personally don't think it was a penalty, and I was fuming about it. But Kev, we'll get your thoughts on it as well. So you were at the game, were you?
Yeah, standing right next to the City fans, which was great.
So initially you went, it's a penalty. Have you changed your mind since you've seen it back?
No, because I haven't watched it back, and I refuse to. I made my mind made up. Now, I'll be honest.
It doesn't change the fact. He gives a penalty at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter. But
it doesn't. But at the end of the day, this discussion was going on around me as well, and there was many that thought it was a goal and a penalty, and many thought that it wasn't. And I agree with what Tom says, but if that's down the other end, I'm shouting and screaming, and that should be a penalty for us. So. Yeah. That's just my own opinion. That's the way I am. Look, at the end of the day, it's subjective, and the problem you've got is the law and incompetent referees that are unwilling to make a decision based on that. And at the end of the day, if there's a touch, I'll be honest, in real time, it's enough to knock them off. Now, obviously, I don't have the luxury of looking at replays and people talking about it for half an hour afterwards and providing their actual own little opinion on it. It's down to what you feel is a penalty. Me personally, I thought it was a pen because I know if that's down the other end, I'd be ranting and screaming and be kicking off if we didn't get it.
Fair enough. I
but it was
just
but
either
it was
you're wrong or right.
No, exactly, and that's the thing because we were still arguing into the second half as to whether it was or not. So if we're arguing amongst ourselves in the crowd, I can understand why one person will say that it was and some that say that it isn't. The fact that the referee didn't even give it in the first place, and it was VAR who thought it was, then that tells you how subjective the actual decision was. So it's subjectiveness. So it depends who you get. And the problem we've got with VAR and with a lot of things is that this is the black for this week. What's the black for next week? And as fans, we want consistency because these kind of things happen, and we can touch on other examples of in games where X, Y, and Z has happened and it wasn't given, but in this game it was. Is that because of City? Is that because they're going to win? So we all go down these mythical roads of and conspiracy theories when we still be piling together and going, this isn't right. We deserve, as the best league in the world, as we've been told, to have the best referees to do that and the best laws as well. That doesn't allow it to be subjective as much as what it is, and it means tightening that up and tightening up our refereeing. Then that's fine. That's all I want. But I know next week there'll be another, or in a few weeks' time we'll have the same discussion because it's happened somewhere else, and it's and that's what happens. But I don't disagree with what Tom says because I can see his point of view. But my opinion is it was always a pen for me, but that's because it was right in front of me. And as soon as I saw it, I went, "That's a pen." And about four of us did. And the next minute, that started the argument that went on to the second half, which was more interesting than what was on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely. Neil, what was your thoughts on it? Penalty or not?
I would say no, and the key for me is that the ref didn't give it. And I don't think so. If the ref had given it, I would say fair enough. I'd accept it as a penalty because there is contact. He does his knee on his foot, but the ref didn't give it. Bernardo Silva then kicks the ball out because he wants them to review it. That irritated me because it was him. And then I have to say, is it a clear and obvious error? And for me, it isn't a clear and obvious error because I think it's soft. So if the ref gives it and they stick with the decision, I don't have a problem. But for them to say it's a clear and obvious error when we've got this supposed high bar is totally ridiculous and not on as far as I'm concerned. So he didn't give it. It wasn't clear and obvious. The high bar has disappeared because it wasn't. It was a few weeks back where you could decapitate someone and they'd say no, there's a high bar and wave play on. So the consistency it's just all over the place, and they seem to change the tolerance level they have over these clear and obvious decisions. So as I say, I wouldn't have given, if I was VAR, I wouldn't have overruled it and given the penalty because I thought it was soft. If they'd have given it in the first place, I'd have understood it a little bit more.
Okay, that's fair enough. Like I say, all the opinions, and anybody watching this, I don't want to think that it's sour grapes. It isn't. It was just the way, it wasn't a clear and obvious for me. So I just wanted to put it out there to discuss.
The LFC Total Red Football Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from. Also available on your smart speaker, or you can watch us on YouTube.
The second one has probably got a lot more traction even than that, because there was another controversial decision to some, and that was the disallowed goal for Virgil van Dijk. So, Tom, I'll come to you again. What was your thoughts on that one? Because that's obviously could have had an impact on the game, to make it 1-1, and then we'll see, But do you think they should have been given, or do you think he was right to rule it
out? Yeah, I mean it's clearly a goal. I think he's not trying to play the ball. He's not in Donnarumma's line of sight. Donnarumma's a foot taller than Robertson anyway, so you can well see over him. So yeah, I mean, I can't remember the exact bullet point that they used where a player should be penalised. I can't remember the exact wording of all of them, but I think we've all seen them, and every single one you look at it, I think, well, that's not it. So again, you just wonder, how are they coming to this decision? How are they coming to it so quickly? In this instance, because such a contentious decision, it just seemed like it was disallowed, and that was it. And I've even watched the thing with Howard Webb and Michael Owen when they have the audio on, and they just say Robertson offside, and then Michael Oliver intervenes to go, yeah, offside, I agree. And then the game just carries on. It's like, well, 99% of the time you're taking 10 minutes over this, and then all of a sudden you're taking 2 seconds over it.
It seems it was brushed onto the carpet quite quick, wasn't it?
Because they took a few seconds to make the on-field decision offside, which was strange. But then once they made that on-field decision that was offside, obviously it's then easier for them to stick to that, which again I found bizarre. Because if they left the decision on field to goal, it's much harder for them, isn't it, to overrule it. So yeah, I found the whole thing bizarre, especially, as I said, when you look at the parameters for the offside being penalised. He's clearly not, matching any of those bullet points for me. So yeah, utterly baffling decision. He's, as I said, nowhere near the line of sight. He's to the side of him. He's not trying to play the ball. He's ducked out the way of the ball. Donnarumma, I think it's clear to see he's not getting anywhere near that ball. I think 2 goalies arguably aren't saving that. It's right in the corner. It's powerful. So yeah, it's the consistency again as well, isn't it? I think we've all seen the Wolves Man City game from last season where Bernardo's in the line of sight of Jose Sarr. That goal gets given, and then the same thing happens, probably even worse, for us, and it's not given. So again, and funnily enough, who was the ref in that game? Michael Oliver.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just frustrating, and especially when you see this stuff, about Coop coming out last year, it just does really make you question the integrity as well, doesn't it? As well as the quality of the officiating.
Yeah. Kev, what's your thoughts on this one? It's
it comes down to the referee. It comes down to the referee again on the day. It's subjective, and again, I'm not going to get frustrated about it because that shows the level of competency that we have. I have within the refereeing. It's not the decision that annoys me. It's the fact that we have these inconsistencies, and the rules aren't tight enough for it to be done by, and we have incompetent people that are influencing these games. The worst thing is that could have happened. It's happened to a top 6 side and one of the biggest clubs in the league, which goes against what PGMOL want. It is what it is. It didn't get given. I was frustrated. We move on. I haven't watched it back. I haven't watched anything on about it. I haven't watched anything on Sky Sports. There's no need to. I have my own opinion, whether it counts or not. But again, my opinion is, subjective. It's based on what I see. What you see is probably different. Tighter control of the laws is what we want. We want a level of consistency, and we're not seeing it. And it's a regular occasion that we're seeing this. And what we tend to forget is that, this is happening on a regular basis. So it's not just this game. And I know we all feel upset that it's Liverpool and we got beat in the end. But it wasn't coming down to these decisions as to why we got beat. We got beat because of our performance and how we've been playing away from home. So regardless of what happened with the refereeing decisions, does it change the game? We'll never know, because I don't deal with ifs or buts. I deal with what actuals and factual things that happen on the pitch. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to go down that road of, oh, well, this would have happened, and we would. Yeah, I've seen it happen that we get momentum back, and it builds us well. And it's better to go in at 1-1 than 2-0 down, which is what happens. But at the same time, we shouldn't be deflated enough to allow them to score a second goal the way we did, in the manner that we did. And then go in and start beating our eyes out and start crying in front of the referees, though, well, it's all your fault as to why we're down to 2-0. It's not. But we're seeing this on a level, on a regular basis, up and down the country, regularly on a Saturday. This will be the hot topic until the international break is over. And then we'll have a new black, which will be another inconsistency of another referee of something else, of some other description. I just want tighter laws. And what should have happened was that goal, it should have been done what they do in hockey, which is the goal is given and then the linesman challenges it, or like they do in rugby. Goal, I'm giving goal. My linesman's saying that number 26 was in the way and the offside, and then challenge that, and then go and look at it properly and go, right, well, let's see. And whether they come up with the same decision, I don't know. But we've never done any of this. And it feels as though we're in the 1970s with this technology, when there's other sports around the world that are using this technology far better than what the Premier League is. And for the money that comes in and the revenue, this is vital that we have the best of the best, and we have the most integral decisions, and it's not left to so many subjectiveness and inconsistencies that we're seeing. So it doesn't surprise me that there was another one at the weekend, and it doesn't surprise me, lo and behold, that it involves us. So at the end of the day, whether what I think about it doesn't really matter. It's not going to change anything. And at the end, so for me, it matters not. I just want more consistency within our Premier League, and we're not seeing it. So it doesn't bother me now, because they're all incompetent for me. The only thing that does work is the VAR for the offside, because it's actual, it's factual. And I know we don't like it that it's a toenail, but that's what the law allows it to do. So until the law changes, the technology is doing it correctly. So much so that they've put a computer into a ball that allows them to get it actually right. The problem you got with these is it's so subjective, and it depends who you get and who it is. And there's fans that will have certain referees that don't Everton don't like Perslow. We have certain issues with other ones, as Tom's alluded to. So, we're all in the same boat, but instead of coming together, we all stay around and banter the teams that when it happens to our rival clubs, when we should be coming together and going, look, we want better action and we want better for our sport, because it's failing. And we end up talking about this far more than what we do about talking about the actual team and what we could do to change it.
Yeah, this is it. Neil, I've got to the point when I'm watching football that unless I can see he's run from his own half and he's chipped the goalie and it's gone in, and for sure, I'm getting to the point now that most of the time I don't cheer that often, because I look straight away, like the players tend to do. They turn, look at the linesman, or they look at the ref straight away to see, can I even be bothered to celebrate this? Because lots of things are happening to make it, they're sucking the life out of it type of thing, aren't they? What was your thoughts on the controversy?
So I think it's a goal. I don't think any ex-player that I've heard has denied that they think it's a goal. And I think the bit that Tom mentioned about the rules, there's these 4 or 5 bullet points. You can literally just go down every one and tick it off that no, didn't qualify for that, didn't qualify for that, didn't qualify for that. So why they've sort of come to a conclusion that then they should stick with the on-field decision, I have no idea. And it's poor. And as you say, you're sort of sitting there every goal now, wondering, are they going to pick something up? Because for me, they're looking forensically at everything. And it's like, if you don't see it with a naked eye and it's not clear, and you have to have 13 replays to see that there's the slightest touch on a player, that is not clear and obvious. and it's ruining the game. And as I say, a few weeks back there was a high bar. You could get away with most things, and they were just waving play on, and I was all right with that, to be honest. But now we seem to be forensically looking for things. Sometimes you don't even know what they're looking at. Whether you're in the stadium, if you're in the stadium, you've got no chance. If you're even sometimes watching on telly, you're like, well, what are they looking at? And you think it's offside, and they're actually looking at something for handball, which is another farcical law at the moment that they've overcomplicated, and they've got different in different competitions. So it was a goal. Would it have changed the game? As Kev said, we don't know. I do feel that we've had been on the receiving end of quite a lot of bad decisions this season. I could probably name 5 or 6 off the bat where I think, we've had dodgy ones, but I don't feel that we've been playing well enough to sort of moan about the decisions and use them as excuses as to why we're doing as poorly as we have done. But I do think we have been on the receiving end of some poor ones, and I think that was another. And I even listening to Howard Webb, it was like he was saying, it's subjective, and I can understand why people would think that. We'll tighten it up so it's not subjective. And if you don't qualify for any of those 5 scenarios, give the goal. Don't look 13 times to try and make yourselves look like you've got it right. So, but as I say, it's forensic looking for things that I can't take, and I think is ruining it because, as I say, sometimes you don't even know what they're looking at.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I completely agree.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
Very quickly, I know we can go down a rabbit hole on this one, so I'm going to try and do it quite quickly. And it's just in general, because we can go very deep on the PGMOL if we really wanted to, and their decisions and VAR and all this. But Liverpool have contacted the organisation to say, obviously, they weren't happy with the decision that we've just been talking about, this offside goal. And I'm sure many clubs do it. And then all of a sudden, they haven't for Liverpool yet, but you get an apology, at the end of the next week going, we're sorry, we've made a mistake. Kev, it's just not good enough sometimes, because admitting a week later they've made a mistake, and it's not necessarily for, like I say, on Liverpool's benefit, this, but it could stop a team staying up in the Premier League or anything, because it could be that critical, and an apology later on isn't going to cut it, really, is it? What's the point of contacting them and getting an apology?
This is what happens with the fella that's in charge of it all. Howard Webb is the biggest, in my views, biggest fraud I've ever seen in my life as a referee and as the chairman of this, because it's an absolute disgrace and just shows how good he is. Those shows he does with Michael Owen, I'll be honest, he picks the relevant information he wants to talk about. Yeah. So, and then you've got the worst person ever in Michael Owen, who is sucking up to him as though he's his best mate, as though he's the Jude Bellingham and Trent. So, it annoys me. It absolutely annoys me, because and then you got them coming out in the BBC saying, well, we don't get everything right. The problem you've got is that this fella has made out that yous are whiter than white, and yous are the most professional organisation that ever lives. I've never known, apart from a football manager, a referee doesn't have to come out and talk about it. He doesn't have to give anything as to why, and they get paid well for the mistake that they've made. And what's the worst thing that happens? They'll go down to the Championship or League One games, and I'll be honest, if we think it's bad in the Premier League, I'm sorry, but a bit further down the ladder you go, the more incompetent it is and farcical you get. So for me, that's the reason why I would honestly, wait, give me 1 sec. I'll get rid of them all. But the problem you've also got is in UEFA. There's different rules for different competitions. What's that about? Why haven't we got one consistent approach? Why haven't we got one actual banner that allows us? Why have we got Man City paying referees to go and referee in Saudi? Why have we got this? And as soon as we get an independent in controller of the Premier League, the better, because this needs to be investigated. Because I'll be honest, they're all frauds. There's not many that I actually look at now and think that are very good. I used to think the UEFA ones were better. I'm starting to figure out if that's the case. I think it must be a myth. There must be a referee somewhere that's decent, but I can't find one because they're a law upon themselves. And for me, I'd rather shoot them all and start again and start again. People talk about bringing in, footballers, but I'm not being funny. That doesn't help me matters either, because there's rivalries that they've got. And how are they going to be impartial when there's teams like a Brian? Can you see a Brian Robson? Can you see a Gary Neville being biased to certain teams? I can't. So this myth that we all like every team in Europe because they're English. Sorry, I don't live by that rule. I hate every team until apart from us. And if we go out, the competition should end. There you go. Do you know what I mean? And I'd stick by that. I don't support any other team. I support Liverpool and Liverpool only. So, I don't care about other teams in Europe. I don't care what it does for our configuration. I don't give two rat's asses what it does to the England team either. All I want to see Liverpool win. So, and at the end of the day, I want refereeing that allows us to win in the most fair way and is less biased. And we have competent people that can make decisions accurately and understand the law, the letter of the law, and can deal with it and also have a common sense approach. I'm probably asking more than what is actually out there, because they have the inability and an IQ of the law as much as what a fish has for the brain, because I don't see anything other than deludedness, incompetence, and a self-righteousness at some point that allows them to have the platform when we're not there to pay for them. We're there to play for the entertainment. We're not there to hear your voice or what you want to do, and that's what we end up getting in the end. We have shows like Ref Watch that shows you what happens. And again, is he actually watching it? No, because he's standing behind his buddies like he always does. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of this. Mike Dean on Gillette Soccer Saturday. Oh, what do you think, Mike? Sorry, he's no longer a referee. So why are we paying him to be in a studio to give his thoughts on something when he's already admitted, oh no, I didn't want to give him that decision because he was having a tough game. We heard it all before. We all understand the human. Do you know what I mean? It's farcical.
He was commentating on the game.
I know. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute farcical. And the worst thing about it is you got dumber and dumber in the commentary. Gary Neville and Spit the Dog Carragher, who've been told by Sky that they can't actually talk about these things in public because it's detrimental to PG. Well, they need to be coming out a little bit more and owning it and telling them that it's not right. We're already getting done as members of the public that we don't get a full 90 minutes out of our tickets. So why should we also have an inferior referee? That should be at the highest bar, and it isn't at the minute. And for that reason, he should be gone.
Fair enough. I can't put it better myself, to be honest, but so I agree with that. Tom, what's your thoughts? Is it worth even contacting the PGMOL?
No, because we've seen teams do it and what changes. So the evidence is there. There's no point in contacting them because what are they going to do about it? They don't listen and make changes, do they? So no, there's no point. I think how it's bad at the moment is you don't even look at the referees anymore, do you? Because they're all the same. Like a few years ago, you'd say, "Oh, you think, oh no, not him," because there was other decent ones. But now they're all as useless as each other. I don't even look at the referees now. Like we'll be at the match now, and someone will say who's the ref today. I just don't know. Don't bother looking because they're all the same. They're all, incompetent, corrupt, whatever you want to call them. Yeah. I mean, how many times we got over the referees? VAR was meant to help. Referees VAR was meant to help get decisions correct. And we know the drawbacks that it gives the game the long waits, the can't celebrate a goal. But I think we'd all shake your hand to say, well, it's given us those drawbacks, but we're going to get 90% of decisions correct. I think we just about shake on that, but when you get in the drawbacks on the game and the mess that we're seeing at the moment, then it's just unacceptable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're highly paid, employees, the professionals that they're paid to do a job at a high level that have high consequences to football clubs. And as we're seeing on a consistent basis, they're getting it wrong. And as I said, they're giving drawbacks to the overall product of the sport. So, yeah, I don't know where we go from here, to be honest, apart from what like Kev said. Honestly, like sack them all and bring new ones in. I think that's the only thing you can do to change it in its current state.
Neil, I'll give you the final word on this. You've heard the other two with their thoughts.
So I certainly don't, and I can only echo what you said as you go lower down the pyramid, that it doesn't get any better for sure. Because, watching League One refs is an experience. Let's just put it like that. Not only the refs, but also the assistants. So I had two thoughts on this. My initial thought, rightly or wrongly, was we've put it out there to deflect a little bit of attention away from the club, because obviously we're in a poor run, and I thought it might create a bit of noise, which takes it away from the criticism of the team. I don't know, just a thought. The second thought I have is I do think it's worth doing, because ultimately, if it then creates a little bit of pressure and you get some unconscious bias in decisions going forward, we may get some decisions go in our favour. And I wonder if it's, looking to say, you've done this. Because I think it's poor, but I don't think it's the sort of decision that is worth making a formal complaint about, because they can argue that one. They can say, he's in an offside position, it's interfering with the keeper. So I think they've done it with a view to hoping that subconsciously we'll get some decisions go in our favour going forward. It's like if you're a player and you're not in the team, you go and have a go at the manager, and whilst he might say that doesn't influence him in his team selection going forward, you see a lot of players suddenly appear in the starting lineup at amateur levels. So whether that happens in the professional game, I don't know. It might do to a certain extent. So yeah, they were my two thoughts. One, it was to deflect attention away from the team, and two, it's done with a view to try and put some pressure on so that we get some more favourable decisions going forward.
Fair enough. I mean, I knew when I picked VAR and the PGMOL that, to be honest, we could probably do a 3-hour show on it and we still wouldn't get to the end of it, because there's that much, but at least we've touched on both subjects and tried to kind of look at it in an unbiased way, as well as, we're all Liverpool fans at the end of the day, so we've got a vested interest for our team. But at the same time, it needs to change in general, and hopefully it does. But I won't hold my breath on that one. I won't chat any longer, because we have passed a lot longer than I thought I was going to tonight. So I want to thank Tom, Kev, and Neil for coming on the stream tonight and having a chat and giving their thoughts. Next week, as we're on the international break anyway, I'm going to take a little break myself. So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. And I hope you can join us then. As usual, you can obviously subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok. And you can listen to the audio version on Spotify, Apple, Google, etc., or wherever you get your podcast from. So like and subscribe and give us a follow. We really appreciate it. And until we're back on air, have a good couple of weeks, everybody. And thank you very much for tuning into the LFC Total Red Football Podcast.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for more LFC Total Red Football Podcast.